Hey, what's up everyone? So today let's talk about how the changes made to the weapon in Monster Hunter World affect how they are played. There is a patch coming out soon, but I can assure you that most of the stuff in that patch won't actually affect any of the content of this video. Mostly, anyway. So let's start with the Greatsword. So, in previous Monster Hunter games, the Greatsword has always been played using this hit and run method. You would draw into your charge, wait until your weapon reached maximum charge, and then you would release, and then you would sheath, and you would repeat this process again and again. And that's usually the most optimal way to play the Greatsword. But in Monster Hunter World, they introduced two new things. The first thing is the true charge attack, which basically put the bulk of your damage at the end of a long combo. It discourages this hit and run method and instead encourages player to use more of a combo centered playstyle. And this style is accentuated by the fact that you have the shoulder tackle, which is an amazing new addition to the Greatsword, because previously the Greatsword didn't have much of a defensive option. Yes, you can block, but the block doesn't really do much. But the shoulder tackle allows you to cancel from your charge attack, which makes the weapon really safe. For once you go into the charge attack, you are committed, and if you mess up, you're getting hit. Tackle also has super armor, so being able to cancel from a charge attack into the tackle means you can play the Greatsword more combo oriented rather than just doing a hit and run. Let's move on to the longsword. The longsword, oddly enough, plays for the most part the same, despite receiving two new major moves. First one being the Foresight Slash, which is an incredible move. If used properly by someone who knows what they're doing, you are invincible. You cannot be hit, you cannot be touched, you are safe. And of course you have the Helmbreaker. Now the Helmbreaker, for as great as it is surprisingly balanced, simply because the animation for the attack is incredibly long. Now let's talk about the Sword and Shield. The Sword and Shield is, fortunately or unfortunately, the same. It hasn't changed much. Any of the new additions to the move doesn't really change how it's played. It is the Sword and Shield. It is very versatile. It is literally the jack of all trades. It can do just about anything. But of course that's the problem, is that it can do just about anything, which means it's not great at doing any one thing. The new moves introduced simply makes the weapon better at mounting monster. But aside from that, it's the Sword and Shield. The dual blade has been streamlined a great deal. In the previous game, one of the most useful moves of the dual blade has been allocated to a really weird button, and that is the touchscreen. There is a button on the touchscreen on 3DS that you press and you can use that move, and that is a Demon Flurry. In Monster Hunter World, all of that has been taken away. All of the extraneous stuff, all of the extra stuff, all of that has been taken away. Instead, the weapon has been streamlined a great deal, which means triangle buttons are actually useful. The old button goes directly into your spinning attack. Daily Dance is actually good. In all, the changes made to the dual blade is great. It's been simplified and streamlined to make the weapon much easier to use. You do get a new aerial move, which is situational, but if you do pull it off, it's quite powerful. But aside from that, the dual blade is as it should have been, not bogged down by extra stuff or overly complicated input. The hammer. The hammer is one of those weapons where it's been proven to work. It is tried and true, and there is not much to say about it. Despite receiving a few new moves, you still play it the way it's always been played. You get in with your charge attack, and you do the 1-2-3 combo to the head, and you rinse and repeat. There's not much to be said. It is a simple and effective weapon. And of course the same goes for the hunting horn. The hunting horn received almost no noticeable change, except for just one, and that is you can stack your song. The ability to stack your song makes the weapon just that more effective at doing what it's supposed to do, and that is buff you and other player. But aside from that, the hunting horn plays like the hunting horn. Can't really say much about it. The lance hasn't changed much either. You can do 3-stab forward or 3-stab up, or interchange them in any way you want. Hop to reset, and that's basically it. Yes, you receive a few new utility moves, such as the power guard, and the advancing guard into shield bash or thrust, but aside from that, most of what makes the lance is there. And it's one of those weapons where you really can't do much to change how it plays. It's the lance. Now the gun lance. One of the most notable changes about the gun lance is incredibly game changing. Is the quick reload. Because it means you now can play the weapon as a gun first and a lance second. In the previous game, it's a lance that can shell. And that's how you're supposed to play it. Now you can play it as a gun that is also a lance. That's kind of how I wanted to play the gun lance in the game. Yes, you also get the worm stake. Honestly, it's just extra damage that the gun lance has access to. The changes made to Switch Axe is big, mainly the sword mode. A lot of the sword mode animation has been completely redone. So the Switch Axe always has this identity crisis. Where does it want to be an axe, or does it want to be a sword? It's very good at being a sword and okay at being an axe, but when it tries to be both, it kind of falls flat. So they changed the axe by allowing it to regain some of the meter when it goes back to axe mode. You now just press O to go into your wild swing. Before, you had to do this upswing by pressing triangle and circle before you can go into your wild swing. Now you can just go into the wild swing and go straight into the Morph Attack, which is incredibly powerful. It greatly simplifies and streamlines the weapon and encourages player to constantly switch between both axe and sword. You also get the new zero-sum discharge. It's a shame that its damage is actually not that great, but of course the next patch is gonna fix that, so let's hope for the best. The Charge Blade. The Charge Blade in previous game was OP. That's what it is. It was OP. It had the damage to match the Greatsword, it has great KO potential to rival that of the hammer, and it has a shield that you can block, and you can block really well with it too. The biggest change made to the Charge Blade in Monster Hunter World is the red shield. In previous Monster Hunter game, the go-to playstyle for the Charge Blade is guard point into super or shield thrust into super. Once you use the Ultra, the red shield is gone. That is the price you pay for using an incredibly powerful move. But now that the red shield doesn't go away, all of a sudden your damage output just double. Half the time isn't spent trying to refill your red shield, instead half your time is spent unloading that Ultra. And that all of a sudden make the Ultra incredibly powerful. That means the best way to use the Charge Blade is to spam the Ultra. The Instant Glaive is played for the most part the way it's played in past game. However, the Instant Glaive is a two-part weapon. One is the glaive, which is good, and the other is the insect. And this is the biggest problem with the Instant Glaive. The insect is nowhere near as good as it once was. In For Ultimate, the insect was tied directly to the glaive. So you upgrade the insect with the glaive together. And this upgrade system is unnecessarily complicated. But in Generation, they split the glaive and the weapon into two different upgrade trees. And they had it so right. The insect did something. It served a purpose. The benefit and the buff that it provides was good. All they needed to do was rebalance some of the buff, expand upon it, and streamline the upgrade tree and put that in world, and it would have been great. But instead, the insect has been greatly simplified, dumbed down to the point where it doesn't really serve much of a purpose aside from just being a gimmick. Let's talk about the bow. The bow used to be split into three different categories: pierce bow, spread bow, and rapid bow. This means that there are a wide variety of bows that you can pick from, encouraging different playstyle. But in Monster Hunter World, all the bows has been compacted into one bow. Your charge shot is now your normal or rapid, scatter shot is your power shot, and pierce shot is your dragon piercer. The bow for the most part has been greatly streamlined, but one noticeable change to the bow is definitely its mobility. There is a great emphasis on making the bow as mobile as possible. In order to do this, they gave the bow a dash. If you are aiming and you press X, you would do a dash and you would charge your bow, allowing you to be very mobile and also be very aggressive. The bow gun has probably undergone the biggest change, and that is you can shoot while moving. Now, new player coming into the game may not think much of it, but the ability to shoot and move is huge. It was very difficult to solo with the heavy bow gun, simply because it was so slow, and if you were moving, you weren't shooting, which means your DPS suffered because of it. But now that you can move and shoot, all of a sudden your DPS just went up without changing anything. It also makes the weapon much safer. You also have access to new special ammo, but they're just extra stuff on top of what's already there. And of course, all of your ammo are now loaded into your gun at the start of the mission. Before, you had to reload the ammo when you begin the mission. You can load all your ammo, which greatly increased the effectiveness of certain ammo types that before are just completely useless, such as healing ammo. The overall changes made to the weapon in Monster Hunter World as compared to previous game has made them all more frenetic, more fast-paced, more agile, which is a very common theme for Monster Hunter World. Everything is faster, everything is more agile, everything is more fast-paced on the go. You don't have time to sit and reload, you don't have time to drink, you're always moving. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. If you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe. If you don't like it, then dislike, comment, and hey, subscribe so that you can dislike more of my video. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one.